I'd like to take a moment to thank the Blockchain Academy. The Blockchain Academy is an educational training firm offering blockchain training to the enterprise. The Blockchain Academy offers courses for both management and developers, offering delivery online and in live classrooms. The Blockchain Academy works with enterprise clients to create and deliver innovative training programs globally. They recently announced a new blockchain course targeted towards attorneys. To learn more about the Blockchain Academy, visit them at www.theblockchainacademy.com.
This is the Blockchain 360 podcast. Blockchain 360 is a podcast of interviews and discussions about the current state and direction of blockchain. Thank you for joining us today. If this is your first time listening, then thank you for coming. The Blockchain 360 podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at our website, blockchain360.co. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter at Blockchain360. All links discussed today are included in the show notes.
This is Brian Nielsen, and I'm your host here on Blockchain 360, where we talk about everything blockchain. My guest today is Ed Cunningham, and he is the CEO of Trippki, which is a new hotel booking platform creating a better relationship between customers and suppliers through its decentralized rewards protocol, Trip. At the heart of Trippki is blockchain smart contract system that manages payments and the distribution of the Trip tokens, offering real transferable value. Welcome to Blockchain 360, Ed.
Great. Thanks very much for inviting me on to your podcast. And I really look forward to, reaching out to your listeners and giving them something interesting.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself and how did you get into blockchain and crypto and travel?
Absolutely. Okay, so Trippki is based in London, but my accent is from Zimbabwe. So I grew up in Zimbabwe in the 80s, 90s, and I then went to live in Johannesburg, South Africa. And I got involved in tourism. I became a wholesale safari operator between 1989 and sort of 2000. And I used to sell safaris in Zimbabwe, and then I opened up safaris in Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana, and so on and so forth. And from there, I then I then had a guest house and a couple of restaurants in South Africa as well. I married an English girl, and she then brought me to the UK. And then in the UK, I had a food manufacturing business for several years. And I began to miss the hot weather of the Southern Hemisphere. So I said to her, after several years, I sold my business, my manufacturing business, and we went to Uruguay. And in Uruguay, I kind of went there for two reasons. I went for to set up a new travel company called Unlock South America. And the other reason was because I thought it would be great for our kids to go and experience, South America before they get too old and have to go to school. And so whilst I was cruising around Uruguay, looking at hotels and looking at the countryside, I came across a group of preppers and hippies. And they were discussing Bitcoin and trading Bitcoin. And I'd never heard of it. And this was back in 2014. And so I started getting into Bitcoin and trading it. And we would sort of get together and discuss blockchain. And I just thought, my God, this is amazing. How can I apply this blockchain technology to travel? And I kind of had this eureka moment where you could, use the sort of crypto economics to reduce the commission that hotels have to pay online travel agents, which is what they do currently, which is up to about 30%, and then create a reward system using Trip tokens to incentivize, the customers to kind of create a network effect. And so after sort of realizing I could do this, I then promptly told my wife that, Uruguay had been fantastic year and a half that we've been, traversing over the countryside and going to Argentina and Colombia and so on and so forth. I said, I need to go back to London because London is the sort of, was the tech capital or blockchain sort of tech area to develop the concept. And so that's what happened. I came back to the UK and got together a team of people, both industry experts, as in travel industry, and potential blockchain developers. I went to all the meetups and meetups like CoinScrum and Ethereum meetups, and just met some fantastic people, and that's where I am today, right now.
So you have this new idea for Trippki, and so and it's based on these, I guess, the travel rewards part of it. Well, tell me a little bit about Trippki itself and exactly what it's trying to accomplish as a corporation.
Okay, so Trippki is essentially a hotel booking platform. And the reason why we came up with the idea is, as I said, the hotel industry is worth about $550 billion, of which about $220 billion is online bookings. And the majority of that is controlled by two players, and that is Booking.com and Expedia. And for hotels to get business through them, they've got to pay up to 30% commission to get the business through Booking.com and Expedia. And so the hotel is desperate. I mean, for the sort of last 20 years, they've been desperately trying to reach out to the customer directly and have and get the customers to book directly with them. And it's not easy for them to do that because because Booking.com and Expedia both spend about $6 billion a year each on online marketing on Google. So, whenever a customer goes online and says, I want to stay in a hotel in a particular hotel in a particular city, the first people that come up are Booking.com and Expedia. So,
well, how is a local hotel group actually supposed to compete with that? I mean, obviously these are aggregator sites, and as an aggregator site, they're really covering the geography in a much more comprehensive way than, say, even a Marriott. I would think that, especially when you're starting to get down into local venues. So how do these local venues then find a way to actually expose themselves to the appropriate people who are actually looking for hotels?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's a good point. And so again, in the early 90s, when I first started my safari business, I mean, the internet hadn't really been invented, and so you would go through tour operators and travel agents, and then when the internet arrived and airlines realized that they could. I mean, airlines had big budgets and they could sell their tickets directly to the consumer. Hotels, as you said, hotels, it was a lot more difficult, and so there would be just a huge amount of information on the World Wide Web, and you couldn't filter it. And that's where aggregators were fantastic, because they came in and they offered a filtered system where you would drop down in a box which city you want to go to, how many kids are going, etc., and the hotel had publicity. But over time, these aggregators have become cartels. And at the end of the day, the cost of the hotel goes up in price because they have to pay these excessive commissions. And who's paying for that? We are, the consumer. So, with crypto economics now, you can change all that by issuing a token, a reward token that allows.
Well, let's hang on before we get into that. I want to step back. So you're saying that these two aggregator sites are really the dominant players.
Absolutely.
And there is no other source or other competition to them? I mean, isn't Google...
yeah,
go ahead.
There are competition, but I mean, these guys, I mean, these two are literally at currently control about, I think it's about 85% of the online market, and by 2020 it'll be 95%. And then so the other cartel would be Google, because it is they're both spending the money on Google.
Right. So these key players now I just wanted to make sure I understand. They're currently taking 30% of the cost of the hotel room?
It's between 10 and 30%. So it depends on how big a group you are. I mean, if you're a big group of hotels, they might negotiate a sort of a 10 to 12% I've just been in Dubai where I met with a very large hotel group of 500 odd hotels, and they pay about 17%.
Wow. 500 hotels and they still pay
Yeah,
17%.
yeah, scary.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what real world problems are you then addressing with Trippki? I mean, I understand the idea of you have these two dominant players. You see that there's a way to actually maybe loosen the hold that they have, but what are the problems that you're trying to address then for all of these hotel owners?
Okay. So,
I mean,
all right. So,
is it a way to actually then promote their sites? I mean, are you acting now as a new aggregator site? What is exactly
okay. So,
the purpose
yeah,
here?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Good question. So, before I answer that question, the so over the years, the hotels realized that they didn't have the budget to go and to do, they didn't have the $6 billion budget to get the consumers to come to their hotel groups. So they created loyalty schemes, and if you stayed at X amount of nights, you got X amount of points. But the problem with loyalty points today, much like air miles, is that it's very fragmented, and it's very cumbersome, lots of terms and conditions, and what's even worse is a lot of these points expire. So again, on top of the between 10 and 30% that they're giving the aggregators, they're also spending between 5 and 10% of their revenue creating these loyalty point systems that don't work. Okay, so coming back to what Trippki is offering, Trippki is offering a platform, almost like a marketplace, a free marketplace where hotels can put their inventory, and we would charge a commission of 2.5%, and with the idea of bringing that down towards zero as soon as the network effect starts to kick in. And how it works is we would have a payment mechanism that would the customer would come along to the Trippki platform. He would make a booking, argument's sake, to a hotel that's $100 a night, and $90 would go $190 would go to the hotel. $2.5 would go to the platform to keep the platform alive and operational. Between $5 and $7 would go to the customer in the form of a trip token, a reward, and $1 or so would be burnt off to buy and burn to create deflation, which then therefore increases the value of the trip token.
Right. Well, how is the consumer then going to find Trippki? Or is it going to be the individual hotels that will actually be redirecting people to the Trippki site?
So obviously, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we don't have the budget to go and market it. So initially, what we're doing is we're focusing on the crypto community to say, look, we've got a booking platform where you can come and spend your Bitcoin and Ethereum. They will understand that immediately. They'll understand the concept immediately, and then we will, we've got referrals and affiliation programs that we will then apply to onboarding customers and hotels. So I mean, some hotels have reward systems in place, and we're not there to completely disrupt them straight away. We're keen to work alongside the existing loyalty structure, but at the end of the day, the customer will decide which points they would prefer to have. So it's initially we're starting a bottom-up approach to get the consumer, but then once the hotels get on board, they will start to market the concept across to their customers too.
Okay. Well, so that's how the Trippki model works. The benefit to the hotels then, I guess, is that they actually have they retain more and therefore have a lower cost. I mean, is the Trippki business model going to replace their reward system?
Potentially, absolutely, yeah. I mean, there are hotel groups that don't have reward systems, so Trip will be the default reward, and those that do, I mean, again, there are a lot of hotel groups that we've spoken to that, or they don't always admit it, but their reward systems are broken. The redemption of rewards is so low by the customers that in itself tells you it's not working.
Right, exactly. Well, then the benefits to the consumer, though, then is the, in essence, in theory, lower cost, but also then this reward system in the form of a trip token.
Absolutely.
Is that correct? Now, how can they use trip tokens for future travel?
Okay, so I mean, and the fundamental thing about trip tokens versus the current loyalty thing is that with trip tokens you can transfer them and trade them anywhere you want, and you can use them. You can also cash them out on a secondary exchange into Bitcoin or Ethereum or ultimately fiat money, and go and buy yourself a pair of sunglasses. You don't have to use them at a hotel, but through Trippki and through booking, you can use trip tokens to upgrade a hotel, or if you're an early adopter and you can probably buy the hotel in about 10 years.
Unless the hotel takes them and just saves them.
Well, absolutely. So the hotel could save them, and anyhow, it's just a big ecosystem. But the hotel doesn't. So we're not stipulating to the hotel what percentage they should kick back to the customer, but we are giving
Right.
them. We are giving them sort of. We are saying that's totally discretionary to the hotel, but the hotel realizes that they need to spend something in order to get the customer in the door. So they will reward them accordingly, if that makes sense. But in terms of
Sure.
reward, I mean, we're calling it the proof of stay model, which I think is quite cool. But you don't just get a token on making a booking. The hotel can also incentivize you. For example, many city hotels, and I do this myself, but as you go and stay in a city hotel, the first thing you do is one normally goes down the road and eats at a restaurant, somewhere else. And hotels would love you to stay in their hotel and eat in their restaurant. So the hotel could say, you know what, if you stay in our hotel and eat dinner tonight in the such restaurant, we'll reward you extra trip tokens. So they can bespoke the way they reward their customers, which is quite exciting.
That is actually very clever. The benefit then again to the consumer is they have their rewards are no longer going to be a point, but it's actually going to be a cryptocurrency
Yeah,
that they can actually then spend elsewhere. Correct?
correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
I would like to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, the Blockchain Academy. The Blockchain Academy is an educational training firm offering blockchain training for developers and stakeholders. The Blockchain Academy is currently offering the following live courses: Blockchain Security, Hyperledger Developer Workshop, and Ethereum Zero to DApp. Visit the Blockchain Academy's website for course outlines and course dates. The Blockchain Academy's courses can be delivered as a company-specific training, tailor-made to fit your organizational needs, delivered both on-site and online. The Blockchain Academy's training is cost-effective, flexible, and can be conducted in a manner that best suits your organizational needs. To learn more about the Blockchain Academy, visit them at www.theblockchainacademy.com. Well, who are the partners and alliances that you're actually bringing on at this point?
Okay, so the partners, being a Southern African, I first started with some of the South African hotels that we know, and so we've got hotels such as the Legacy Group, and they've got about 30-odd, 40-odd hotels in Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mauritius. We've got the Red Carnation hotels, which have hotels in the UK, Channel Islands, South Africa. So we're building up as many hotels as we can get in. As I said, I was just in Dubai. I've just met a very large hotel group. I can't say exactly what it is yet, but we're hoping to release the press, the PR press releases next week. And every day we're signing up new hotels and new lodges to join the concept.
Well, of the partners and alliances, have you actually been running any use case in any one of them to see, to work out the bugs, to see how it's working, to see if they're happy with the platform?
Okay, so the platform isn't built yet. We don't have an MVP. Our MVP is our idea, and it's our team of industry experts. So we have one of my co-founders, Mark Croston, and he spent 25 years building travel technology platforms. So he's going to be in charge of building. So essentially what it is, it's a rewards protocol and a reputation ledger sitting on the Ethereum blockchain. And on top of that, we're building the Trippki hotel app. So the hotel app is centralized, but the rest is decentralized. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
And so that's why we're holding an ICO. Obviously, is to raise the funds to build the project. And we have Edan Yeager, who's from Ep26. He's a blockchain developer and payment specialist. So he'll be building out the rewards protocol and the reputation ledger. And then Mark Croston and his team of people will be building the hotel booking platform. And together, we hope that by sort of Q4 2018, we'll have a live system. We're pretty certain we will.
So basically a year from now.
Correct, yeah.
Well, tell me about the rest of your team.
So as I said, we've got Mark Croston, we've got Bill Purvis, he's the only one who doesn't have the travel background, but he's the CFO, and he used to be the CFO for SmithKline and Beecham. So he's got a lot of knowledge and is very very professional. Then we have Graham Wood, who is an advisor. He was the ex-CEO of what was known as Southern Suns, a very large group of hotels in Southern Africa, as well as Sun City, which is quite famous. He was the CEO of that. And then we have Vera Tiocchietti, who I met in Uruguay when I lived there. She's in charge of our development and growth in Latin America. And she's based in Uruguay and comes across from time to time, which is nice. And that's about it in terms of our team. But then we have, as I said, Edan Yeager, who's been building up the blockchain side. And he's got a whole bunch of developers under him. Yeah.
That's great. Who do you have as advisors assisting you on this,
so we have,
outside of your team?
All right, so we have Vinay Gupta, who obviously is one of the sort of probably top 20 futuristic blockchain thinkers, and he has some wonderful ideas about how to take the sort of put the hotel inventory onto the actual blockchain. Again, it's kind of futuristic, but it is exciting and it can be done almost like a sort of a hotel derivatives or a bed derivatives platform, which is quite complicated. I'm kind of a visionary and I'm not very technical, and so I need him to come in and sort of have these kind of think tank sessions with us, and then we sort of take that information and articulate it out into a plan and a roadmap. We've also got Hollis Hedrick, who actually got me, and he's one of the preppers living in Uruguay, and he himself has a company called Blockchain Capital. So he's incredibly well versed in the blockchain space, not so much as a developer, but more as a sort of a financial specialist. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in this position today. And he's a great guy. He's a really great guy.
Right. And then you're bringing on these partners in Q2 through 4, in essence, right?
Yeah, I mean, we every single day we're reaching out to hotels and getting them to join us because the more we need to collaborate with them. We want them to collaborate with us and show us what the problems they're having, so that we can build the whole business in a much more transparent way.
Right.
And over time we may even start talking to channel managers as well, which are the Booking.com and Expedia and Trippki and Airbnb. They all go through what's known as a channel manager, which is sort of like a funnel where the hotel's inventory is.
Is this product going to have like a mobile app? Is it just going to be like a web app? How are both the partners and how are the consumers going to actually engage with the product?
Okay, so that's a good question. So again, I mean, a good 90% of people are using mobile phones for just about everything today. So there'll be firstly there'll be an app that you can download, and we'll have a biometric signature. So we'll be partnering with either Civic or Uport that will create the identity and wallet, and then obviously the booking platform will have all the hotels listed in, and you just literally go through and you choose the hotel you want to stay at. You put in your information, the dates, and you make a booking. And the payment, you'll either, if people want to pay in crypto, then our payments mechanism will convert, because hotels don't necessarily want to be paid in Bitcoin, but our payment
Right.
mechanism will literally convert the cryptocurrency into whatever fiat currency the hotel wants. In terms of going to a much wider audience, initially to the sort of non-crypto community, which is large, as we all know it, they can pay for their hotels with normal credit cards, and the hotel will take that payment. We won't take that payment, but the rewards in both cases will be kicked back to the wallet. That's a part of the digital identity.
Right. The cryptocurrencies that you're going to be accepting, are you going to be accepting all 1,100 of them, or are you limiting it down to a few?
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be along the lines of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dash. Probably at that stage. I mean, we haven't got into deep thought about it, but probably those three to begin with.
Okay.
Because they're the most well known.
Well, you got Bitcoin Cash. You're going to have now Bitcoin Gold and Bitcoin, Ultimum. I mean,
that's true.
There's going to be a lot.
I'm a Bitcoin sort of maximalist, but yeah, I think that's really up for discussion with our team, and we want to alienate anybody, so the more the merrier.
That's true. So I'm just trying to articulate exactly what we have here. So if I was to summarize this, Trippki is basically an online reward system that will allow for hotel groups to basically work in conjunction with one another in an aggregator type environment, but that will also be then it'll be on the blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain, but it will allow for then the guests of these hotels to receive rewards in a crypto token.
Correct. Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Absolutely right. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And so, how big of a IPO are you actually trying to do? How many tokens of these Tripp tokens are you going to be releasing? What is the order of that? How much is going to be used, internally? What is going to be used for marketing?
So we are creating 200 million tokens, of which 40% will be used to raise we need 36,000 ETH which is approximately $10 million, and that will be used to fund the building of the architecture, the platform, as well as do some marketing and PR during the course of the year, getting hotels on board, releasing news stories about who's joined us, what's happening, and so on and so forth. The balance of 40% tokens, approximately 80 million tokens, will be kept in a vault, and the vault will be used to bootstrap the project when it kicks off a year down the line. And we'll be offering lots of referrals and affiliates to grow the network effect. And the 20% is broken up between founders, investors, bounties, marketing, and PR.
I do have a question, though, with regards to this. So who are the competitors to Trippki? And, are these two behemoths going to be responsive and say to themselves, you know what, I can't have a loss of all this revenue? I mean, obviously they're in business, and this is going to be the Trippki model is a disruptor to that existing model. Is there any risk in terms of them coming back and saying, you know what, we're going to do our own token cell as a preemptive strike to disruptors like yourself?
I think so immediately, who are our competitors? There is a company called Winding Tree based in Argentina, and they're building a decentralized booking platform. They're not offering rewards. They've got a great product, but I don't kind of understand how it works, because I'm not sure how why people would use it. But again, I don't want to bash them, because I think there's room for lots of us disruptors in the space, and they're quite broad. I mean, they're going they're going after the airline, the airlines, the car rentals, whereas we kind of more.
Oh, they're doing the whole
They're
thing.
doing the whole thing, yeah. And whereas we're really specific. We know there's a problem with hotels. The hotels have told, I mean, if you go into any of the sort of travel tech news sites, I mean, they're just crying out to deal directly with the consumer. There was another company again that set up. I can't remember their name. They're also offering. They're creating a crypto token, which apparently you have to buy to be able to use on their platform. Again, I don't understand how that works, but with us, I mean, we're basically saying if you make a booking through our platform, you're going to get a reward for that, and you can use that reward wherever you want to use it. The bottom line is the hotel's getting bums and beds at a much cheaper cost, and it's a win-win, sort of ecosystem. It's more of a sharing economy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I actually want to thank you. I think this is a very clever product that you're putting together. I think that the idea of helping hotels, especially the smaller groups, to find a way to incentivize consumers to actually stay at their hotels is very clever.
Thank you.
I think. And I think that it's a great story that you started in Zimbabwe, went to South Africa, meet a girl, move to the UK, then decide to go to Uruguay, and then come back. I mean, that is a unique adventure, for sure.
It was a cool adventure. But life is an adventure. In fact, life is a trip.
It is. That's true. All right. Well, I do want to thank you for showing up here on Blockchain 360.
Thanks for inviting me.
And I think that this is going to be of interest to many of our listeners.
Excellent.
And so thank you again, Ed Cunningham from Trippki.com.
Thanks very much.
The Blockchain 360 podcast is produced weekly. Have a question? Want us to interview someone specific? Wish to hear about a particular topic? Let us know. You can email podcast@blockchain360.co or tweet us on Twitter @blockchain360 or at our website blockchain360.co.